to another episode of Sticks and Skins. It's Dr. Dungan back with Lawrence Foster, ready to talk about the weekend, the preseason, Panini, all kinds of good stuff. Lawrence, how you doing today?
Great. And just whenever you see me at the beginning looking to the side, I'm checking the phone to make sure the stream is good. We always have one follower,
Hmm.
watcher because of that.
Yeah.
So that's also good. But
Yeah.
no, today was the first full day outside in PE for me at my day job. So it was like 95 to 100 degrees. It was nice.
Yeah. No. Today was so the students at Baylor, they started back yesterday, and today was the first day I had to lecture, and I forget how mentally exhausting it is to keep the students engaged. And yeah, I'm crushed, but it was good. Good times,
Fun times.
fun times.
Not
All
so
right.
much fun times. The Bills.
Yeah, the Bills looked, I guess, awful. I mean, more so, I think the offensive line looked awful, and the end result was the entire team looked awful. So I guess we can start with that, and obviously something that we've talked about for I feel like forever, and I think most non-Bills fans don't really take into account is the fact that Josh Allen is great. Josh Allen covers up a lot of flaws, but if the line is really struggling, it's really hard for the offense to get going.
Man, you don't want to. You always hear people say, "Oh, it's preseason," and there's certain things you shouldn't take into account.
Hmm.
But if your offensive line is just getting pushed backward and your quarterback is running for his life, uh, that's reason to be concerned because blocking is kind of blocking. This is an offensive line that has three pieces in place for a few years now.
Hmm.
Bates has been there for a few years, and then really the only new one, the guards. But
Chansey.
it's very concerning. Like going into the game, we were all like, as soon as they said Watt was playing, oh god, this could be. I really wasn't even necessarily Watt. Like Ulbrich was wrecking Deion Dawkins.
Yeah. No, you're right. Dawkins for being our, I mean, Morse is our best offensive lineman, period.
Yeah.
But Dawkins, he's Josh's left tackle, and he's been with him his whole career. But
Mm-hmm.
after he got paid, and I'm not saying he's taking plays off or whatever, because I believe that they love Josh and they want to protect him and whatnot. But it's just he is not getting better. He keeps getting beat, and in a way, I'm glad that Watt played because, as you said, it wasn't just him; it was everybody was beating our line. But it just goes to show you, like, listen, we're not there yet. The only silver lining I talked with my wife a little bit about is the fact that Knox wasn't there, and I mean, if Saturday's outing is any indication, we're gonna have to run 12 personnel almost every single play.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't really shown that yet with Knox and Kincaid, so there's going to be that new wrinkle coming in, but it's still like Shell retired, Doyle wrecked his knee again.
Hmm.
We signed an XFL tackle. So it's not like depth wise, I think it's at the point where Torrance is equal with Bates. Bates can play all five positions. Spencer's had too much of a excuses made for him by the coaching staff the
Hmm.
last few years. The rest of the team has to perform, but why is it Spencer keeps getting passes?
Yeah. The other
Like
thing,
at the point where we need to think of something else.
yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned it in our group chat about this might be the time to go and trade a high pick for an offensive lineman. The other thing too, right, is essentially it looks like we just need a six-person blocking all the time. Whether or not that's keeping Knox in because he's the better blocker compared to Kincaid, or having a guy like Latavius Murray in who's he's a big body, but he's 6 foot 6'2". He's essentially as big as Josh. And so having him stay in so he can pick up somebody because otherwise, yeah, the offense is going to sputter if Josh is constantly on the move, just getting hit. Because yeah, sure, it's fun to see and watch him go and make these crazy plays, but I don't always want him. I want him to be able to sit in the pocket, step up in it. Um, Ainsley said something to me in terms of, you know, people were making excuses for our line, saying that it's partially because Josh is such a deep drop. But even that, I don't buy because, all right, sure, he drops back deep, but they're losing up the middle, and it doesn't matter. I mean, right? Like if you can't create a pocket, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm with you. Like I was almost all. I mean, right? I mean, look at the other side. Pickett looked great. You know.
Yeah, the Pickett looked very good. Just the Steelers' physicality, like for the preseason, was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Just but I feel like what I've read and listened to from like The Athletic and Sirius XM Radio, who does training camp tours, is like Pittsburgh practices at like a different level than almost the entire rest of the league. So like I feel like those guys are further along in the process just because that's how they do things. So
I hope so, man. Because, but like even that, right? I once your team starts getting their tail kicked and getting embarrassed, I mean, you'd think they would step it up, but because it wasn't just the offense, right? The defense got shredded by Pickett and essentially everybody.
Yeah, that 62-yard touchdown run. Again, like I've said for years, like we don't have like really good speed on defense.
No.
Like Poyer had an angle that he should have easily been able to at least do something to Warren,
Push him out of
and
bounds.
Warren just like toasted him.
Yeah.
So like Poyer was a free agent this year, and nobody bit.
And there's probably a reason why, but
Yeah, like we're like the last 5 years have been great with him and Hyde, but Poyer had a chance to go elsewhere. No one gave him anything, and who knows what Hyde will be coming back from his neck injury. And middle linebacker is at this point really awful.
yeah, I mean, I know
If
that.
AJ Klein is going to start, that's good. Ugh. What are we doing?
Well, do you know how much longer Bernard's hurt? Because I mean, we really haven't got a chance to see him this preseason because he hurt his hamstring.
No, he still wasn't practicing today. I saw. That's all I've seen.
So I mean, again, like if you're a Bills fan, you're looking for a positive. I mean, that to me is sort of like, well, maybe Bernard is the answer, right? I mean, I hope so. I mean, shoot, I have an autographed card of him sitting on my lab bench. You know, but still, I'm with you. I am both sides of the ball. I am concerned. I really, honestly hope everyone plays again this week and they perform a little bit better, because this might lead into our next person. Although I don't believe that there's any rift between Steph and the team, largely because he said so. But I just, if things don't go right, if we make it through the halfway point of the season and we 4-4 or 5-3, just if things aren't looking good, I don't know. I can see this thing imploding on us because, right, everyone knows that the Bills have been building and building and building, and it should have been 2 years ago, and last year we laid an egg. I don't know, man. I can just see this team imploding mid-season.
Oh yeah, I think this has the makings of potentially being one of those just god-awful years. Because, Steph came out and said that, but, why do these reports keep coming up?
Well,
Is it one of those cases, where there's smoke, there's fire? And that, Steph just had to say something?
yeah. But,
I mean, because you saw what happened in Minnesota. That's why he's in Buffalo.
sure.
But, I remember when Josh and him first came out, it was just, all you heard was them talking about each other. But now, I feel like there's not as much of that.
Yeah, the honeymoon phase is over, and now it's just listen, we got to win, all right? Being friends and all the handshakes is cool, but we just got to win.
Yeah, and, Steph gets a bad rap, but I'm with him in terms of, we can't keep doing the same stuff and be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is like the last few weeks of last year, the offense was not so good. Like New England game 2, kick return touchdown saved us.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills almost lost to Skylar Thompson in the wild card round.
Zach Wilson earlier in the year.
Yes, I mean, Steph wants to win. And if he doesn't feel like it's being done, like I kind of see what he's saying of like, someone's got to say something. We all just can't be all clap our hands like McDermott. There's got to be some fire and brimstone there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So week 1 is going to be very interesting. It's about as tough as a matchup as we could have week 1 on the road. Aaron Rodgers' first game, a defense that really gave us fits last year.
Yeah.
And an offense that, like you said, we lost to Zach Wilson, and he had one of his best games of the year.
I mean, and I watched a little bit of Hard Knocks, and Quentin Williams, is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He looks like a flippin' monster. It's like Sue reincarnated. He is going to absolutely eat us alive. Oh my gosh, I am not looking forward to that.
No, not at all.
Um,
So yeah, we play the Bears Saturday. And like you said, I think they have to go out. The starters have to go out there on both sides of the ball and do something. We can't go into the Jets game with what we did against Pittsburgh being it.
yeah.
So
And I'll say this, like, if Stephen A. just like made that stuff up, I feel like there's got to be some recourse for that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just despise like when people just like say things.
yeah, and like who knows what his source is?
Yeah, probably nobody.
Like
Himself in the mirror. You hear that sound? Yeah, I heard it.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's the Bills in a nutshell. Like last year, like I think it's good we don't have all the hype on us. Like a lot of people are kind of being like, they'll be a playoff team, but don't expect much beyond that. So maybe having less of that microscope on us this year will help us out. And we can't have all that freak stuff that happened last year. The snowstorms, the DeMar stuff. Like, let's have a normal season.
But like last year started different, right? Like it started great. Like that Rams game, it could have been a better start to the year. Like Josh beasting that guy and throwing him. I mean, it was just Diggs burning Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't lose much. We didn't lose much last year.
No. It's one of those things, I know you feel the same way, where like I look forward to the season all year, right? It's finally here, and I just want it to go well, right? Like I don't want to have to have one more thing that I have to have anxiety over that I have no control on.
Yeah. And that's why football's the best.
Yeah.
Like we both like other sports, but like it's not. Football's once a week. That's it.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
Anyway, that's on the Bills. Friday show. Maybe probably talk a little bit about a little more injury stuff, some other things.
Yeah.
But moving on to what we introduced last show, our cards portion of SNS, which is now SNS Cards. Big news out of the card world yesterday was the NFLPA terminating their contract with Panini, quote unquote, effective immediately. So we're still kind of new, but we started in May. Like we're 3-4 months into being decently versed in the card world. So what you really want to send me the news. What did you think when you read that?
I mean, I first saw it. So one, I'll just say this: you're way more versed in it than I am. That being said, I was in a way shocked, just because like we really have just started getting this going, invested a few $1,000s into it, and so then like my first thought was like, oh shoot, was that all for nothing? But then again, it's one of those things where like I try not to have a knee-jerk reaction, because ultimately I think most people have no idea, right? Because you told me that even though Panini lost the license, they still own or have the ability to go and utilize the NFL teams and logos and whatnot, but Fanatics don't. So in a way, it's like they're gonna have to figure it out. Like they're gonna have to come to a deal, sell something, trade. I don't know, but there's too much money to be made for them to not figure it out, and that's why I'm not overly worried. Plus, I've been to the store a couple of times, and granted, it's only been a couple of days, but the shelves are still, at least with blasters and whatnot, megas are hard to find. But I guess ultimately, time will tell. Whenever we do our breaks, some of the older stuff that we have to buy offline, does the price start going up? And if it does, then okay, that'll tell you something. But as of right now, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We'll just sort of have to wait and see.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird spot. Like the Panini cannot do anything with players, but they have the rights to the name, the logo, and team names.
Yeah, that's right.
Which means Fanatics, which now has the right, presumably 3 years earlier than they thought they would, can't do anything like. So if anybody's ever bought Leaf products, like the cheap boxes you see at the store nowadays, where you can, there's Brock Purdy in Niners colors, but everything Niners is photoshopped out. So is that how it's going to be for a couple of years? Is Panini just going to be like, I'm taking my ball and going home for 3 years? You're going to have to do cards without, like, that's my interesting. Like, I want to see how that affects the market. If we have 3 years of NFL product with no team logo and names.
But who's going to buy it? I wouldn't buy it.
That's what I mean. Like, are people still going to buy that just so they have the rookie cards? Like, that's going to be the only rookie cards for the next, unless the deal's struck, of 2 to 3 years. So people are going to still want their their Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Like, that's the only cards they could have.
Yeah.
Are the non-logo ones.
Well, I do wonder, right? Because you just said like Fanatics has it 3 years sooner. Are they even prepared? Even if they were able to say, all right, Panini, $1 billion, buy the rights from you. Are they even set up? Do they have the infrastructure? Right? Yeah, right. Because I mean, as far as they knew, it was 3 years out, and it's obviously quite a long time. So, yeah, no, it's a little surprising, obviously, but I guess again, time will tell, or maybe they'll release more information because prior to COVID, this wouldn't make headline news, but now we're just one group amongst thousands that are doing this. So, yeah,
and it's funny you mentioned COVID. I was watching something last night about after COVID, Panini said it would take them 3 to 4 months to get the stock back because COVID shut everything down, and that's with a company that they had been doing it. So, like you said, like, did Fanatics see this coming and see like they're ready for this to start printing, or are they starting from, oh crap, we have this now, and it's going to take them half a year to get anything ready to be printed?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, once they do, it'll be, because we already know what the quality is of Panini, right? So it'll be interesting to see what the quality is of Fanatics, because I mean, there's thousands of different types of cards and styles, and I don't know. Again, it'll be interesting. It is sort of lame, right, with us just getting into this thing, but what can we do?
There's a lot of people happy with it, from who are like breakers and stuff, who just like say like the prices of everything is crazy, and they blame Panini. Like, oh, a hobby box, $1,000. So they're hoping that Fanatics brings the prices down.
Yeah. Well, that, and you can never get them, right? I mean, you could
No.
never get them from like certain online retailers, and so they essentially control the market.
Yeah, so hopefully Fanatics changes that up. Because I know, like, even
before this, like Fanatics, just like Walmart and Target had their own, like, oh, Walmart exclusive parallels or die cuts of this color. Fanatics had that as well with Panini, of like Fanatics exclusive types of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So at least they're not complete novices in the field.
Right.
But like you said, like selfishly for us, see that news, you're like, man, like we're just getting everything rolling. We got to our 1,000 followers on TikTok, be able to go live. We're close to $1,000 in sales in less than a month on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So just as we're getting everything rolling and everything, it's like, is this really a universe saying, no, not today, boys?
Like I said, man, a lot of things been going wrong at work the last year, and this just seems like my work life is leaking into my personal life, so you're just a casualty of it.
Yeah, but yeah, so like you said, like nothing we can do. We just gotta roll with it. The biggest, like we have plenty of product to keep the eBay store up. It's just like we just like are gonna be trying to do our first break, depending if we can get the TikTok shop to work. But like that's the main thing that I was thinking. I was like, are we gonna be able to afford to buy boxes for that now? Like, are the prices gonna become so stupid? Like people like us can't afford to buy them to resell and make money off it. Yeah, we do what we want to make money off of. Like we're not doing it to have fun and give everyone a deal, then we lose money on it. We do want to make a little moolah.
I mean, at minimum, right? I would love to break even. Plus, you know, we both have invested a few grand, so it'd be nice to again break even.
Get it back. Kenny Pickett, keep doing well. We should be okay when we get a certain card back.
I was gonna say, yeah, for a couple of cards, I'll probably go get graded now.
Yeah, like that's another thing. Like if Panini's done, like their stuff becomes more valuable. Mm-hmm. It's weird what sells too. Like we have what we presumably think are decent cards, and like they don't sell for much. Then 2 days ago, we throw up a Jalen Warren 3-card rookie set with one auto and 2 die cuts. And 5 days, not even 2 days in, with 5 days left, he's up to like mid-20s on our auction, which is crazy because those things usually pick up at the end.
Yeah, well, it's also funny because wasn't he the one that had the huge run against us?
But that's exactly why we posted it. Like he had that big run and everyone's talking about him, so that he's sitting there with his auto and die cuts and like, maybe that's going to be a good time to try to sell him.
Well, what else is funny is that I'm pretty sure I put that into a team pack and you had the foresight to pull it out.
Yeah, that's good teamwork.
Yeah.
Good teamwork. But yeah, so that's the Panini, and kind of us talking about what we spent on this is kind of a good segue into when we first started this show. We talked about what it took, like our experience building PCs for the first time. Mm-hmm. So now, like, we're 4 months into buying cards with the purpose of creating what we're creating right now. So, like, let's give our viewer some insight about, I have to do the S on at the end because sometimes it fluctuates to 2 or 3. But, like, what are some things that, looking on it now, or like you would give advice to give to people trying to get into the hobby, ignoring the Panini stuff, just assuming it's a normal market? What's some advice you would give to people just starting?
I mean, I guess it ultimately depends on what your goals are, but I think at first you and I were just excited and we bought whatever we could get our hands on. But looking back on it, I wish I had a better handle on terms of which boxes to buy, right, versus ones not. What tends to have the more valuable cards versus the ones that don't. Like at first, all I could find were the Contenders series. I bought a ton of those, but I mean, nobody sells Contenders, right? Like they just don't. They're not that great looking cards. And so again, I wish I would have known, hey, probably don't invest in those. It's probably better to spend a few dollars online to get a box to get things that you can sell versus this. The other thing being like if you can get the megas, get them. Don't waste your money on the blasters. And then also I didn't realize this. You're the one who told me, but the fact that even though you have a really great card of a player that rare, the college team ones just aren't as valuable. And I understand why, but at the same time, like it didn't dawn on me until you actually said it.
Yeah, and like there's some really nice looking college uniform cards that but they just do not sell.
Yeah.
Like even rookies who don't even have NFL cards yet, like Richardson and stuff. We threw some of those up, just being like, this is when we knew it, and like hopefully, like all right, people, fans of these teams will want those cards. Like even then, they didn't want those cards. Yeah. They want them in a uniform.
I mean, shoot, I went to Walmart today and they had a ton of Chronicles, a ton of the 2023 select draft picks. I bought a couple of blasters of Chronicles, but I didn't buy any of the draft picks. I'm just like, they're cool and some people will appreciate them, but for the most part, if you're looking to turn a profit, it's challenging to do so.
Yeah, and like you said, like it depends on your goals. If you want to make profit, like kind of we got into it for, yeah, you got to really pick and choose. And you're correct. Like when we first started back in May, we didn't like do a good job of figuring out what to buy. Like I bought a couple boxes of Score, which come to find out are pretty low end bargain basement Dollar Tree version cards. And that's good if your whole goal is just to collect. If you don't want to sell anything and you just want cards, Score is a real good product. They give you a ton of cards that aren't worth that much for a decent price.
Yeah.
But like if you're wanting to make money, you got to buy into the Prisms, the Optics, the Selects. And really stick with them. Like you said, if you can do it, Megas are better than blasters.
And hobbies are obviously what
you
want, but as you said, I mean, they're expensive.
So crazy.
For my birthday, I'm going to try to get a hobby of either the 21 Prisms or the Optics, but again, you're dropping like 12 to 1500, and I just I want to, but it's just like, man, I don't know.
That'd be something if we continue to grow like we are, we can do down the road for sure, and not be spending like real money.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see.
But yeah,
that was probably the biggest thing, knowing which cards to buy.
Again, one of those you have to research it, especially now with the new stuff coming out. Like I might we're early investors in things like video game systems and whatnot. But cards, this might be a case where like I might see like, is Fanatics going to put out like 8 different brand seal works and then roll with that? So kind of wait and see how everything looks and plays out before investing in whatever they produce.
But ultimately though, right? Like, what are our options?
I just don't want to do what we did starting this and buy this Fanatics version of Score and be like, oh crap, we should have bought this one.
Oh, right.
That's what I mean, waiting to see what they produce and figuring out, okay, these look like quality cards as opposed to like looking at the scorecard and I was like, oh, they're just so basic.
Yeah. Because honestly, the only ones, I haven't bought any. I mean, I bought a couple of Megas for our next break, but the Optics, I think, are probably my favorite, just in terms of the various card designs. Prisms look okay, but they're, I don't know, relatively bland. Same thing with the Selects. The Chronicles look pretty good too. But yeah, I mean, Optics, I'm probably gonna buy more of those just because, I mean, gosh. And I'm about to say, I don't even know if I would sell it, but if I could get like a Downtown Allen, that looks so cool.
You'd sell it?
Maybe. One day. You're like, no, you'd sell it. And that's the other thing too, right? I mean, and obviously, we're men of our word and whatever else. So, but like I'm gonna be, I bought those two megas for the break, and if I pulled that card in that, gosh, that'd be hard to.
And you had to give it to whoever bought the builds.
I know, right? Because part of me, honestly, is like, all right, I'll sell 31 spots. Bills are not available.
I mean, I don't know how the optics of that look, but I know there's some breakers they'll buy a team like if they're just sitting there for like half an hour and like they're waiting on one team. They'll eat it that way they can break. I don't know, like the Bills are one of the more valuable teams. I don't know if that'd be wise, but yeah, that's where the breakers are like. Oh, I'm happy when I pull this few. I'm like, I don't know if I'd be happy if I pull a Josh Allen downtown.
Yeah, or just because like we're Bills fan, like we overvalue those cards. That one's obviously going to be valuable either way, but like, a Cook card. The average football fan would be like, it's James Cook. We're like, oh man, no, it's James Cook.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun to get into. It's like anything with gambling. Mm-hmm. Be okay. Like have a set amount of money. You're okay. Like yes, we invested a couple thousand, but at least I know it's not like we are overextending ourselves and putting ourselves in a bad spot to do so.
Oh yeah.
Like so, you can't go into it. Like I'm going to go into horrendous debt and hope to be okay. Especially don't fall into the hole of doing breaks unless you know what you're doing. Like breaks are expensive. So don't just go in there like, oh, I'm going to buy this team. Like you research things, figure out what you like. Again, have a budget and figure out, well, what teams have good hits. Go to find the checklists.
Yeah.
It could be a team you like, but if they have a quarter of the hits of every other team, that's not a wise investment because the odds are you're not really going to hit anything.
Yeah, being patient too, because I mean something that I wish I would have. I mean, shoot, like when the 22 selects came out, I found like 8 or 9 of those like megas, and I should have just kept the boxes for like breaks, but I'm impatient and I wanted to open them. Same thing, so it's just like or you go to the store, they don't have anything that you really want. Like don't just.
So you buy something, yeah.
Right, but yeah, exactly. Like that's sort of what I did. Well, kind of. Like I picked up those select draft picks. I was like, nah, I put them back. I just grabbed the other ones just because I do like how the Chronicles look. I mean, me personally.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of good variations in the Chronicles.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, right? Like they have very few cards that are actually worth something.
Yeah, the blasters like are almost not. Megas like and that's like normal, but even like select blasters, that's like where I got my the one that I pulled the Zebra card of Daxton Hill came out of a blaster. So I feel like the better quality card, like you have a better chance of pulling something good out of select and stuff than you do of like score. Mm-hmm. So again, that's why the research matters of what are better brands overall.
You're just trashing score. Jeez, I think don't you have a couple of score in your break, my guy?
I do. That's just to flesh out the cards so people have stuff. Like that was strategic. Like there's two. It's 2023. It's a new year, but it's also because I want everybody to have cards who pays into the break.
Sure.
Having those 2 score blasters pretty much guarantees everyone's going to have a few cards minimum.
Right.
But yeah, it's not the best, but just fleshing out the cards is nice. So yeah, cards are fun. Be smart about it. It is kind of like gambling.
It's addicting, for sure.
Oh, it for sure is. Like you said, like we bought a couple megas this summer, and hindsight would have been good of holding them as opposed to ripping them. It's much like a car once you drive it off the lot. Once you rip the wrapping on that box, you kind of have dropped the value of it significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I guess that's the other thing that granted we haven't done. I mean, you've watched way more than I have, but I imagine watching others do it. right, is super important because there's little nuances like, the cards and the boxes are always in view of the camera. They never go off. You show the fact that the box is empty. You, as you just said, you don't open. I tear off the cellophane wrapping until you're on camera. Just because you might be honest, but no one else.
People don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I wouldn't trust somebody that did that. Like before I buy into anybody, I watch 3 or 4 of their breaks to see, does this guy look like they're scamming people or. And there are, like, you watch TikTok videos of, like, all of a sudden it's off camera and then it looked like a card's missing on what they had in their hand. So I'm like, all right, so I put that one on the I'm never buying from you list. But we will not do that. You will want to buy from SNS Card 607. Our fat fingers and hands will be on screen the entire time holding the cards.
And I'll have gloves on.
I was going to say, Corey will have gloves. That's how you know who's who. Plus, I bite my finger, so you'll see bite marks.
Yum.
Yummy.
Well, no, because I was just talking to one of the students that I have does a lot of cards, and he says that you're just talking to him about what are the things that you like to see. He's like gloves. He said, because that way you don't have to hold the corners. You can hold like wherever, and you don't have to worry about fingerprints, touching the corners so the corners don't, get bent or anything. Just like little things like that to show that, hey, like this person cares about my cards. The other thing that he said, and I sort of did this the other day, of like most breakers, right? Like they know cards. They don't know the sport. Whereas we know the sport, kind of the cards. And so, just like we're able to say, oh, hey, we pulled Tyreek Hill. Hey, remember that one time you punched a girl in the face and nobody cared? Okay, next card. You know what I mean? Like being able to, I think anyways, interject a little bit. So, because ultimately we'll figure it out, but having your own like personal style and flavor, I think is probably going to be important.
Yeah, it's what sets you apart. Just like here on Twitch, we're set apart by our ECG-ness.
Boom.
So, that leads us, we're covering all 3 of our topics today. We've covered sports, we've now covered cards. Leading us into our last umbrella topic that we have is, we haven't talked video games in a while. There's been a few. So kicking it off, I'm not completely finished. I'm very close. Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, so that's been the franchise that I've loved since I was a kid. And this one, I played the demo, and at first I was like, nah, I'm not going to get it, because it just didn't seem like it seemed too linear. But you played it, and you actually convinced me to give it another chance, and I'm really glad I did. The story, I mean, I know everyone has said it's just like Game of Thrones. It is, but that's not necessarily bad, just because Game of Thrones rocks. I really enjoy it. I think the combat's fluid. I mean, I beat it 1.5 times. I'm halfway through my second playthrough on Final Fantasy mode, for which I will say, actually, it's way easier than it was the first time, because now I'm so proficient with the controls and blocking and doing all that stuff that I've only died once. But no, I really like it. I like the story. It's an emotional ending. I really like it.
And I read a lot of fantasy, so I feel like in addition to Game of Thrones, like I'm seeing a couple other things that like I'm just into a series now. I'm like, this seems very similar to Final Fantasy 16, and this book series is from the early 2000s. So good for them that like they took successful things from other branches and they tried something new.
No, that means those book writers are time travelers. Duh.
It could be that too. But yeah, that was surprising. Like when we first started it, like I really wasn't Final Fantasy at all until the 15, because I don't like turn-based games, and you have always liked those. I don't know if you really play them anymore, but like I know growing up I hated them, and you always played like the Final Fantasies and whatnot. So it was kind of weird that I had to kind of do a little bit of a sales pitch of it's not as bad as you think. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird.
No, it was, but I'm glad I listened, because it's solid. I mean,
because you had to do that on Final Fantasy 15 to me, where I'm like, I don't like Final Fantasy, and you're like, you're gonna like this one.
Yeah, you like Final Fantasy 14 too. Although I will say, you and I tried playing that game twice, and we just got burnt out because it's a long game.
It is. And well, and that's, I'd never beat it. Like, we got very close.
Yeah,
But it's also like, yeah, both times very close. Just, I didn't have the energy to go through it. And again, I think it's the combat. If it was a combat like now, I would get through it.
because it's fluid, right?
Yeah.
It's not overly complicated. I really like how you can like quickly shift between the like three elements you have, and there's
Mhm.
multiple things. So I think you said this to me once, where if you do it right, you can sort of time it so you always have a power. And
Yeah, you're able to cycle, and then especially you have the right necklaces equipped where it speeds up the timers of them.
mhm.
You can basically never use basic attacks, and just keep attacking them with your abilities, which is pretty sweet.
The other thing too is it's a really great looking game. Like those
It is.
battles with the summons and whatnot. Like that first battle with Garuda and Ifrit.
Mhm.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is what childhood us was like. Oh man, I
Mhm.
can't wait for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, love it. 10, 10 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Great game.
Yep, and then
Hey, you'll beat it.
I will just, all the card stuff, school starting, adoption process, a little busy. But I'm tackling like half an hour every night, getting it, whittling it away. Diablo, we've played that.
hmm
I like it better than the other Diablos, I'll say that.
Number 2, you mean? I like 3.
Yeah, I don't remember when we played, like, where we got to a point that every time it reset the map, which is so annoying because then we had to figure out where to go because what we had worked on was all gone.
Number 2.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of like, but this Diablo's fun. Like, I enjoyed, like, when we played, I enjoyed it. It is tough, though, at times.
Yeah. Although
It is a tough game.
hmm Yeah, but although it is nice, right? Because people go a week or 2 without playing it, but it's the controls are easy enough to pick
Mhm.
up whenever the story is always the same. You're trying to defeat some spawn of hell.
Yeah.
Which, we will have the victory in Jesus' name, Lord. But yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, it's just one of those like mindless games that
Yeah.
you can play. Yeah.
And it's like, we play that after we played this stuff that you kind of, I don't know, it can mentally drain you.
Oh,
For those who don't know, like Corey and I play Rocket League, and then we play Warzone. And for anybody who's played any of those, you know that it can just mentally get fatiguing doing 45 minutes of Rocket League ranked,
yeah.
and then we go into Warzone either ranked, we're with a third teammate who's random who sucks, or we plan to play regular duos and just get cheesed out of our mind with stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So it is nice to just go into Diablo and just mindlessly, okay, just look at the buttons, click, oh yeah, I remember all my attacks, and just go and hit the buttons. Just keep track of your health. That's really the only thing you have to do is like, all right, I need to throw a potion on quick.
Although, man, those one monster bad guys that like suck your life and like and you can't use a potion. Yeah, those are the times that we died. But there's like 3 of those guys just doing this sort of like leech life attack on us. Other than that,
We gave up.
Yeah.
We gave up. We don't waste time anymore on things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we have Starfield coming out soon. That hopefully is everything.
Don't suck.
Like
Please
it's
don't suck.
yeah. Yeah, because that's going to be a PC game for us, I think.
Yeah, so we can.
Isn't it? Because isn't it only on Xbox?
I'm not sure, but either way, I mean, it's just easier to stream.
Yeah. So yes, we'll be streaming Starfield. We are going to start streaming more video games on here, just to give some variety. We can still talk things. You can see how we play.
Poorly.
Yeah, we're above average,
It's true.
and considering how old we are, not so bad.
Not that old, but I mean, yeah, I guess
In video game world, we are
ancient.
old. Yeah, like So the fact we hold our own, well, more than hold our own, I think is pretty good.
Yeah. Today I gave my introductory lecture and I made sure I put my PSN name up there, challenged all my students. Hopefully none of them take me up on it because, yeah, they'll likely light us up.
That's funny you said like kids all the time. Like you work with college kids, I work with elementary. Like, Coach Foster, can we have your gamer tag? I'm like, come back and ask me in high school. I'll feel much more comfortable doing that than playing with an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
For you, it's like they're all adults, so that's different.
Well,
Yeah, come to class. We're gonna wreck your face.
I'll say, you beat me, I'll give you an extra bonus point on the exam.
Boom. But all right, that's a good wrap-up point for us.
Madden?
Oh yes, Madden. I forgot.
Yeah.
You've played Madden, so this will be an entirely you carry here.
Yeah. So,
Views on this year's Madden, which they said was kind of make or break for the franchise.
yeah, and I will say, I mean, so first off, obviously, Josh being on it, super exciting and cool because it's the first one ever. And so, but I guess I'll just start by saying, as a Bills fan, I was a little disappointed because I had hoped the intro would have been more him. I just felt like the Lamar Jackson one and the Mahomes one, it felt more focused on them, and I like the music better. This one, I made sure there's a good probably 15-ish seconds of Josh before it switches to other people. But it was, for me anyways, it was a little underwhelming. That being said, once you get into the game, it does allow you to choose, because we didn't really play the last one much just because we didn't like it. Like, you get anywhere near the quarterback, they were throwing interceptions or doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
They give you, you can choose between classic, the field sense, all the different. I think I just left classic on there. But the one thing that I noticed that for like the first time when you're running with the quarterback, or at least a quarterback who can run, it actually feels like it looks on TV. Where like I've never, like even if it was like Lamar Jackson, I've never had like a 40 or 50-yard touchdown run with a quarterback. It's like almost impossible. But like Josh, I have like this 38-yard scamper with stiff arming them, pretty, or like you're just able to sort of like weave through like he does at times. But probably what I would dare say is like the most accurate moment that I had in there is he's going to like throw, and he's got like somebody pulling on his jersey, and he's still like getting the ball off.
Yeah.
A completion. Whereas like any other game, the second they get their hands on you, almost game over.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, I think it's an improvement from the other one. There's definitely a lot. So like, if you really like those mini games, you can do that during training camp and whatnot. You can do that for how you can like boost the stats of like 3 rookies or whatever.
Yeah.
You can do a mini game and that. Like, I don't, just because like when I play, it's more just like relax and I'm gonna play a game and try not to get furious and throw 4 interceptions. But yeah, no, overall it's good. And running is also really good. So like Cook, because he's elusive, like he's really good in the hole. And this is again another improvement of where, like in the past, if a D lineman gets anywhere near you, you're pretty much like, unless you're like McCaffrey or Barkley, like you're not getting out. But this one, like if there's an offensive lineman like between you, like you can just like so he will just wall them off, so you can like skirt around the defender. So it does.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it does feel more realistic on the offensive side. I haven't played defense because again, I just want to like relax, and so I usually put the defense on auto. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I guess I'll just say this: I don't regret buying it.
That's good. And last year, I don't think you did. I did, and then I played it like a week. I'm like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, no, I did a trial.
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so Madden improvement, good, and needed it, desperately needed to get better.
Although, I mean, that being said, it'll be sort of like with the Panini. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Madden. Like, does the license get renewed? Is the NFL like, nah, we're gonna go with 2K? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, content competition there would be good for the football video game marketplace, but
Actually,
we'll see.
One thing that I will say about it is it always feels that way. Like when you're in franchise, or even in like the Ultimate Team mode, switching between pages or whatever, it's so slow. Like it must be like there's so much information it takes. I don't really know, but it's not smooth. Like there's like a half second lag between when you click the button and when like something happens. For which I guess,
Yeah, should not be happening in this era of video games.
right. And so that's sort of what I'm saying. It's like we're in a way spoiled that things happen like instantly, and this has a bit of a lag. It's only in the menu. It's not in the actual
Right.
game itself, but it's still enough to be like, I don't want to have to push this button twice.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I feel that. Well, that's good. Like encouraging that Madden's at least taking a little bit of been like, all right,
We can't just keep chalking up the same stuff. So
Sure.
good on them. And that is a good ending point to our first Tuesday show back.
Boom.
We'll be back on Friday, late night.
after we're done gaming. So for Corey Duncan, I am Lawrence Foster. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Go Bills.